Trying to see your way through everything that God is doing in your life is stressful. Hey, what's up? It's Patrick, it's Rose via Fire, and I pray this message reaches who it needs to reach. So let's talk about trying to see your way through everything that God is doing in your life is stressful. You know what I'm saying? I feel like a lot of times we have this bad habit of trying to see our way through everything that God is trying to do in our life. And that is literally one of the most stressful things. It's like when you're trying to figure out everything that God is trying to do in your life, that's stressful, man. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna keep it real with you. Sometimes I'll catch myself doing this, man. I'll catch myself like trying to see my way through everything that God is trying to do in my life. I'll catch myself doing this, and I'm like, damn, bro, like this is stressful, bro. It's literally stressful because we're not supposed to figure it all out everything that God is trying to do in our life. And literally when you just stress yourself out, every time that you try to see your way through everything that God is trying to do in your life, you're just gonna stress yourself out because God is too big and God is too powerful. You know what I'm saying? So every single time that you're like, man, I want to figure out everything that God is trying to do in my life, man, you're gonna stress yourself out, bro. You're gonna stress yourself out. And one thing that I noticed, bro, you just gonna end up frustrated because you just can't figure it out. Why is God allowing this? Why is God not seeing my suffering? This and that, da 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 da. Like, why is God taking long? You trying to figure everything out, or like you just trying, man. I'm telling you, you just gonna stress yourself out. Now, there's nothing wrong with feeling all these crazy emotions that we go through in our walks with God. But trying to see our way through what God is trying to do, that's another topic entirely. Of course, we could express how we feel in all these bad emotions that we feel in our walk with God, all these painful emotions. Of course, we could express this stuff to God and keep it real. But at the same time, bro, it's like trying to see your way through everything that God is trying to do in your life. Man, it's just crazy, bro. And every time, bro, that I be trying to like figure out everything that God is trying to do and trying to see everything that God is trying to do in my life, I will end up so stressed, bro. It's like for everything that I try to figure out, for every single thing, I just add more stress and more stress and more stress and more stress. That is like a dead end because you gotta understand. Oh, you're trying to figure out like you're trying to see your way through what God is trying to do here. You add more stress to your life. Then you're trying to see through this thing that God is trying to do in your life, more stress. And you got people out there, we got like 10, 20 different things that we trying to see what God is trying to do in our life, bro. We got like 20 different things to whereas we trying to see our way through all these 10 different things that God is trying to do in our life. Now that's 10 different stresses that you're adding to your life, man. You know what I'm saying? Bro, the madness gotta stop, bro. Bro, we could easily remove all this stress from our life by simply just trusting God and just stop trying to figure everything out. You know what I'm saying? It's like, bro, by us trying to figure out everything that God is trying to do in our life, it's like we are doing God's job. It's like we trying to do his job. Bro, we gotta learn how to stay out of God's business. Because when you start to just go into God's business, bro, that's when you end up stressed. Because it's too much. You know what I'm saying? We can't handle to be trying to see us through all this stuff and all this, trying to figure out all this. You know what I'm saying? We just gonna end up stressing ourselves out, bro, because that's God's job and we can't do God's job. So we gotta really try our best to not stress ourselves out by trying to see through everything, man. It is one of the most stressful things, bro, when just even trying to see through things that we're not supposed to be seeing through. You ever wondered maybe the reason why you can't see through these things is because God don't want you to see through these things? God just wants you to trust him instead. You know what I'm saying? Trusting him is much more better than trying to figure out and see through all these things, bro. I'm trying to tell you. Because by us trying to see through all these things and what God is trying to do in my life, I'm trying to figure this out, da 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 da. man, you just gonna raise your blood pressure. You're gonna stress yourself out. You're gonna give yourself anxiety, panic attacks. You're gonna get frustrated and angry at God. You're gonna get so mad. You're gonna get so frustrated. You don't even wanna live no more. Like, man, why is God putting me through so much suffering? Why is God taking long? Like, I'm trying to figure it all out. Da, 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 da. It's like, bro, there's nothing wrong with feeling like bad emotions and stuff like that in our walks with God. But it's like the problem is when we try to see through everything that God is trying to do, when we try to figure out everything that God is trying to do. And sometimes we be getting so caught up in trying to see through every little thing that God is trying to do in our life. And it never works out, bro. We end up with more stress and we still didn't figure out what God is trying to do in our life. That's all it does. Trying to see your way through everything that God is trying to do in your life, it adds stress to your life, and you still don't figure out what God is trying to do in your life. So when you really just simplify the equation for what it is, you're just looking for stress. That's it. When you really just simplify the equation, in the end, you end up with stress. That's it. By trying to see your way through everything that God is trying to do in your life, you end up with stress, panic, anxiety, frustration. That's it. You do not end up figuring out what God is trying to do in your life anyway. So next time that you catch your mind wandering and trying to figure out everything that God is trying to do in your life, remind yourself that all you're going to find is anxiety, stress, and panic. You is not going to figure it out. So anytime you catch your mind drifting and wandering off and like, oh, what God is trying to do in my life, I'm trying to like see through everything and figure it out. Every time you catch your mind doing that, remind your mind. Yo, that sounded like remind your mind. Yeah, but look, remind your mind and remind your brain that it ain't gonna figure it out. There is no figuring it out because God is too big. God is too, we can't figure God out. We never can. So always remind yourself, anytime you catch your mind wandering off and trying to figure it out and trying to figure out how it's going to happen, everything that God is trying to do, always remind yourself that you're not going to figure it out. Literally just remind yourself that you're not going to figure it out. It's a dead end. And on top of you not going to figure it out, on top of you not being able to figure it out, you're going to add panic, anxiety, frustration, stress, and much more to your life. On top of you not figuring anything out at all. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say, man. You know what I'm saying? Peace.